Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another daily dose of Ixalan spoilers. So like we've been doing all week, we're going to jump into it with the new cards that were released since yesterday, and then move on to our next color as we try to work our way through the huge spoiler dump from Monday. So today's new cards plus blue cards. So let's jump right into it and talk about the new things that have leaked out since yesterday. Just a bunch of uncommons today, but we'll go over them super quick. First up, Ixalan, something like that. These dinosaurs have very tricky names, especially with the translation thing, but 6 mana you get a 3/5, not super exciting, but it has a cool enrage ability. Whenever it's dealt damage, you put a counter on each other creature you control. So the big payoff here, I think, is Walking Ballista. There's some really neat tricks you can do here. So technically, if you get a Walking Ballista out with 2 counters, let's say, you can ping the Ixalan. It's going to put a +1/+1 counter on your entire team, including your Walking Ballista, which lets you ping the Ixalan again, which lets you ping it again. So the end result is you can ping the Ixalan 4 times without it dying, and you end up with a massive +4/+4, all in counter form, so it sticks around to your entire team, and your Walking Ballista has the same number of counters. You can even somehow make your Ixalan indestructible, and it goes literally infinite. You can just ping it, ping it, ping it, ping it, ping it, ping it. You can do tricks like that. You can put equipment on it to get more pings in. So I think that's the main synergy here. Other than comboing with something like Walking Ballista, not sure you want the Ixalan, but it does seem really sweet in specific with Walking Ballista as a finisher. Walking Ballista is already sitting on the board, so you just play your Ixalan and go to town by making your whole team super big. At 6 mana, it's naturally limited, it's expensive, but you can do it all at instant speed, so it's a very powerful effect. It avoids removal, and the payoff is actually pretty good. So we'll have to see if we have some Walking Ballista dinosaurs in Standard's future. We also got Pillar of Genesis, which is mostly exciting because it's a 2 mana rock, and we do not get 2 mana rocks in Standard. It just is not something that happens. Of course, it is limited. You got to choose a creature type, and it only adds mana of that chosen type. So it doesn't help you cast your non-creature spells, doesn't help you cast any spells of any creatures of other types. However, it seems like a key piece to making dinosaurs maybe playable. Dinosaurs are super powerful, but they're super expensive. So if we can use Pillar of Genesis to ramp into our Gish-Ass and Verdant Sun's avatars and Burning Sun's avatars, maybe the dinosaurs have a chance in Standard after all. So I think that it'll see a ton of casual play. It's a great, just fun, casual, I'm building around this tribe card. It's an uncommon, so it'll be nice and cheap. It'll possibly see playing Commander, although there's a lot of good options out there, but I could imagine 5-color tribal valuing this since it does tap for mana of any color. And in Standard, I like it for dinosaurs. We'll have to see what the rest of the tribes look like. Pirates looking aggressive, Merfolk looking aggressive, but I think for dinosaurs in specific, it's a pretty powerful option to ramp into all the big top-end plays. The rest of the random uncommons we got, Cumin's Omen Speaker is a pretty powerful card as a 1-drop. You get a 2/2 for 1, which is what you want if you're playing aggro. So we got to see what Merfolk looks like. In a Merfolk deck, you're going to be blue-green, you're going to have lots of Merfolk. This should pretty much always be a 2/2, which is a fine payoff. That's like the going rate for a good aggressive 1-drop. So if aggro Merfolk is a thing, I expect Omen Speaker to be a part of it. And Raging Glidodon, not all that exciting. Maybe a sideboard card if there's some go wide Lingering Souls token strategy. It's a good way to deal with it. It is a 5/5 for 5 with trample, which is pretty good stats, but I don't know if that's enough on its own. I think you really need that ping ability to be killing stuff. Right now, it doesn't look great. Everyone's playing Rogue Refiners and so forth, but if there's a format with a lot of X1s floating around, and Raging Glidodon is either a main deck option for like a green-red monster deck or a dinosaur deck, or it becomes a sideboard option at the very least to clear away a bunch of tokens. And finally, Twilight Legion Battleship. It's a vehicle, not very good though. The cost is high, the body is not that great, the crew cost is 2. So overall, limited fodder, maybe. I don't even know if it's a great limited card, honestly. So not an exciting vehicle, but it is sweet to see the pirate ships in vehicle form. As for the blue cards, we start off with some Merfolk, one of the namesake big-time tribes from Ixalan. And we start off with a new Merfolk legend. Coppola, Warden of Waves. 3 mana, you get a 2/2, makes makes all the spells that target your merfolks from your opponents cost 2 more, and also abilities that target your merfolks cost 2 more. So a pretty interesting merfolk protection spell. The question with Coppola in Standard is, how many merfolk can we get? Obviously, if merfolk is a good tribe, I expect that we'll see Coppola seeing some play, because it's a great way to protect your merfolk from fatal pushes, from harness lightnings, all that kind of stuff. The downside is, before we got to Ixalan, we have a single merfolk in Standard. Coral merfolk legal because it's in the welcome deck, so pretty much all the merfolk we're going to have to build a Standard deck are going to have to come from Ixalan. Will we have enough support just from Ixalan to build Merfolk Tribal? We will have to wait and see. The good news is we do know already, with just a tiny bit of spoilers, that there are some good Merfolk coming in Ixalan. We have Deeproot Champion, good 2-drop, Herald of the Streams, kind of a weird one. We'll talk more about that later. We'll have to see if Merfolk have a +1/+1 counter theme. Trishana's Wayfinder, also potentially good, a little bit below the curve, but we do know we're getting a lot of Merfolk, so perhaps there will be enough to make a deck. When a new Merfolk comes out, the other question is always, can it work in Modern? Because Merfolk are a legit deck in Modern. The thing with Coppola in Modern is, it's basically a worse Kira Great Glass Spinner. So Kira is like the ultimate protection spell. Instead of making your opponent pay 2 more for the Lightning Bolt, which they could still do, it just counters it straight up. So I think the protection on Kira is much, much better than Coppola. The upside of Coppola is it's a Merfolk, so it does benefit from all your Merfolk Lords and untaps things with Mirror Regery, so you have some fringe benefits there. Is there a chance that people will go with Coppola since it's a Merfolk over Kira? I think there's a chance, but right now, in the dark, I would say that Kira is probably still better, even with Coppola getting the Merfolk benefit. On the other hand, we were talking about Standard, and if we do get the Merfolk deck in Standard, Coppola can be the Standard version of Kira for Merfolk. The thing that just locks out the opponent's ability to target your stuff, makes it really hard for them to kill your Merfolk. Hopefully we get some Lords and you just overwhelm your opponent with little blue creatures and green creatures in Ixalan apparently, and take over the game that way. So moving on, since we're talking Merfolk, we might as well cover the other Merfolk that was spoiled Monday, Herald of Secret Streams. And this one is weird. So this one I want to withhold judgment until we see the Merfolk mechanic. If Merfolks, maybe they are putting counters on things rather than just playing traditional Lords, then I think this could be a really good Merfolk card. It obviously works pretty well with Metallic Mimic as a Lord. It automatically puts counters on things, pump your Merfolk, kind of sweet there, so that could have some potential. On the other hand, maybe this could work without caring about Merfolk. It doesn't say Merfolk creatures, it just says creatures you control with +1/+1 counters can't be blocked, so maybe we can be like a Bug Winding Constrictor deck. There's a ton of ways from Kaladesh block to put counters on things, so maybe we can just play Rishkars and Walking Ballistas and Verdurous Gearhulks, get this huge board of creatures with +1/+1 counters, play Herald, makes all of our stuff unblockable. We probably only need 1 or 2 turns of it sticking on the battlefield, which is good because Herald has a pretty small body that dies to a lot of things, but play it for a turn, get in with all these creatures, win the game that way. So without knowing what the rest of the Merfolk in Standard will look like, I'm most excited about this as kind of a Bug Winding Constrictor card. However, if Merfolk do deal with +1/+1 counters, it could be much, much better as kind of a weird pseudo-lord in a Merfolk deck as well. Next up, we have Entrancing Melody, another way to steal opponents' creatures, a really interesting option. So Wizards has moved away from making these spells as enchantments, like we see with Mind Control and Control Magic, and are making them more and more sorceries. The question with Entrancing Melody in Standard is, can it be better than the other options? We have Confiscation Coup, we have Kefnet's Last Word. The upside of Entrancing Melody is it has the least conditions. You don't need energy, you don't have to deal with your lands not untapping, you can just steal something. The downside is it's considerably more expensive than the other options if you want to steal something big. Like a Verdurous Gearhulk is going to cost you 7 mana, a Noxious Gearhulk is going to cost you 8 mana. It's just a lot of mana to dump into it. So I think we've seen Confiscation Coup RDC play in energy decks. I assume energy decks, if they want this effect, sticks with Confiscation Coup. Some decks might want Kefnit's Last Word because you can steal the biggest dinosaur in Standard for just 4 mana. Entrancing Melody, though, is pretty interesting at stealing little creatures, and it has some really big upsides in Modern. I think I might actually be more excited about Entrancing Melody in Modern than I am in Standard. So Modern has this card, Threads of Disloyalty, which is 3 mana to steal something with converted mana cost 2 or less. It has the downside of being an enchantment, so it gets Abrupt Decay, it gets killed that way. Entrancing Melody is slightly more expensive if you're stealing exactly a 2-drop. If you want to steal a Tarmogoyf, Threads is slightly less expensive, 3 versus 4. If you're stealing a 1-drop, Entrancing Melody is always better. So if you want to steal your opponent's Death Shadow, it's exactly the same as Threads, except you can potentially steal bigger things. It's a sorcery, so you don't have to deal with Abrupt Decay. Plus, you can always flash it back with Snapcaster. So imagine this against a Death Shadow deck. I'm not saying this is going to break the format or anything, but it could be an option. 3 mana, steal Death Shadow, the game goes along, then you flash it back with Snapcaster for 5 mana total, 6 mana total, steal the next Death Shadow, steal a Tarmogoyf. So I think the interaction with Snapcaster Mage and the fact that it's so cheap to steal a 1-drop, just as cheap as Threads of Disloyalty, means that there's definitely some big upsides here as far as Entrancing Melody being at very least a sideboard card for Snapcaster decks in the right meta. So that's what I'm mostly excited about as far as Entrancing Melody is concerned. Next on our list, we have Arcane Adaptation, which is kind of a reprint of Conspiracy, except it's way cheaper. It's only 3 mana instead of 5, it's in blue, so I'm actually kind of excited for this card because it's a really unique effect. There's so many brewing things you can do with this card, so many weird interactions. The downside is you're playing a card that doesn't do anything. All it is an enchantment, doesn't impact the board, but it can be a combo piece and can do some really unique things. So let's say in Standard, what can you do with this card? The most obvious implication is to turn all your creatures into something that benefits from a lord. So let's say you're playing a Crested Sunmare deck. Suddenly you can make all your creatures into horses so your whole team is indestructible. Or maybe you're playing a deck with Unash. It's insane with Unash because it makes all your creatures into Sphinxes. So picture this. Let's say you play an Unash. You have an Unash on the battlefield with Arcane Adaptation naming Sphinx. You can play a Walking Ballista for free, trigger the Factor Fiction ability, then maybe you draw another 2 mana artifact creature. Let's say a Metallic Mimic might be good, since all your creatures are Sphinxes. For free, it allows you to Factor Fiction again. Let's say you had another 2 mana artifact, you cast it for free, and you just go through your entire deck, your Factor Fiction until your hand's full. So I'm super excited for Unash combo in Standard. Also, anything with Lords, I mean, you can turn yourself into Aetherborns, but I think for me the big one is Unash Arcane Adaptation combo, which seems like just an absurdly fun deck. I don't know if it'll be good. It probably won't be good. It'll probably be horrible, but we're going to play it because it seems like one of the most exciting and fun combo-y things you can do in Standard at the moment. As far as Modern, I want to mention really quickly, there are infinite combos with this. The most obvious one is Turn Timber Ranger, so you set Arcane Adaptation on Ally, and then your Turn Timber Ranger is making wolves when it enters the battlefield that are also allies, which means they trigger the Turn Timber Ranger to make another wolf, which is also an ally, which gives you another wolf, which is also an ally, which triggers Turn Timber Ranger, which is a wolf, which is an ally, which triggers Turn Timber Ranger, and the result is an infinite number of wolf ally tokens, and an infinitely big Turn Timber Ranger. So you could already do this with Conspiracy, but then you're curving 2 5-drops into each other. A little bit more sketchy. The fact that you can play Arcane Adaptation, let's say on turn 2 even off of a Birds of Paradise, then on turn 3 or 4, play your Turn Timber Ranger and just go infinite. Maybe that makes this combo fast enough that it could actually see play in Modern. At least it's worth considering now because it gets rid of the 2 5-drop clunkiness problem. As far as the rest of the blue cards we got on Monday, Dreamcaller Siren and Daring Saboteur are some new pirate cards. Pirates are a really supported tribe. I think these cards will mostly be important to Pirate Tribal if we have enough to make that a thing. As far as Dreamcaller Siren, it seems like it can be a great top end of a curve in a pirate deck. So you play your Deadeye Trackers, your Fathom Fleet Captains, your Ruin Raiders, whatever other pirates are yet to come. Play your Dreamcaller Siren, taps down all your opponent's stuff, and maybe an Admiral Bracket Brass, which is a way you can get in those 3 attacking creatures to steal your opponent's best thing. So I'm excited about Dreamcaller Siren in Pirate Tribal. As far as Daring Saboteur, I really want to be excited for this card. It's a fine 2-drop for a pirate deck, so I'm fine with it there. On the other hand, I was really excited for Wharf Infiltrator, which is even better as a looter because of Skulk, makes it harder to block. And Wharf Infiltrator just never really caught off. So outside of Pirates, I'm a little skeptical. I really want to love Daring Saboteur because I love 2-mana loot creatures. But based on my experiences with Wharf Infiltrator, I'm a little bit skeptical we can play it just as a looter, especially since it's much easier to block than a Wharf Infiltrator. And paying 3 is actually a big cost. That's skipping your turn to get in the loot, which is too much unless it's really the late game and you're just overwhelmed with mana. Finally, we have River's Rebuke, which I think is one of the most powerful blue cards in the set. So this might not look like much. It's a sorcery, it's really expensive, it's 6 mana, but I think there's actually a lot of upside here. So in a 2-player game, this is basically an overloaded Cyclonic Rift, except you gotta cast it at sorcery speed. The good news is it's 1 less mana, and we just don't have cards like this. If you look at previous versions of Bounce, they're almost always return everything. So yes, you get rid of your opponent's creatures. Yes, you get rid of your opponent's non-land permanents with Crush of Tentacles, but you lose all your stuff too. The power of River's Rebuke is you can curve out, play your Verdurous Gearhulks. Maybe you're playing Pirates, your Admiral Brecket and Best, get a bunch of creatures, your Ripjaw Raptors, whatever big things you want. Then for 6 mana, you just cast this. It bounces all of your opponent's blockers, you swing with your team, and just win the game on the spot. So that's where I see River's Rebuke as a super powerful finisher for just about any deck that can cast it. I mean, it depends on what the format looks like, how fast it is. 6 mana is a lot, but I can certainly imagine this just picking up all of your opponent's stuff and letting you swing one time with your team to close out the game. And I think that's all for today. That brings us to the end of our blue cards from our big Ixalan spoiler dump. So what do you think? How good is Coppola? Are we going to have Merfolk with Herald of the Secret Streams of Coppola in Standard? Is Entrancing Melody going to find a home in Modern? What about the Pirates? Dreamcaller, Siren, Daring Saboteur? Can Pirate Tribal be a thing? Is River Rebuke good? Can we combo off with our new Arcane Adaptation and Unash Cairo Sphinx Sovereign? Let me know in the comments. Anyway, that's all for today. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, help us out by clicking that like button down below. And to keep up on all the latest and greatest, click that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit that bell icon to get alerts whenever we have new videos. And if you want to, check out some of our other sweet videos here and here.